Alright guys, we're going to do chapter 8, consideration. I think I'm doing it in 2 parts. Alright, so let's start with it. The law refuses to endorse most free agreements. Agreements must be bargained for if they are to be binding on the parties. Bargain for means each party surrenders something of value in exchange for something else of value. Okay, so if I have Ben give me piano lessons, he's giving me something of value, which is a piano lesson, and I'm giving him $100 an hour for those lessons. Okay. The exchange for the promise to exchange the things of value is what binds the parties to each other contractual relationship. That was a mouthful. The binding element is known as consideration. Okay. Consideration is the exchange of benefits and detriment by parties to the agreement. Consideration distinguishes a legal binding agreement, all types of agreement. Social agreements contain offer and acceptance and aren't contracts because there is no consideration. So if Ben was just giving me piano lessons because he wanted to be a nice guy, then that would be a social agreement and it would not be a contract. A benefit is something a party was not previously to receive. So the benefit I'm getting is the piano lessons, right, which I wouldn't have gotten otherwise. A detriment is any loss suffered. I'm suffering the loss of $100. Okay, so I'm getting the benefit of the lesson and I'm giving up $100. There are 3 types of consideration. Giving up or promising to give up something you have the legal right to keep. Right? I have the legal right to keep my $100 and I'm giving that up. Doing something or promising to do something that you have the legal right to do. Okay? Forbearance is not doing something that you have a legal right to do. Okay, so if you pay me if you pay me to stop doing something. Okay? Consideration has 3 key characteristics, and we'll go over them now. First one, promise must involve the concept of a bargain for exchange. When a promise is made in return for another promise, an act or a promise not to act. Bargain requires that a party will be injured if the party does not keep his or her promise. So if I don't pay Ben, he will be injured because he will not have received money for his valuable time. Okay, both parties gain something when a promise is kept and the exchange is made. Bennett has $100 and I now have the ability to play the piano, which I really don't because I can't. Okay. 2, something of value. The law has no specific value requirements on consideration. So I could easily say Ben's piano lessons are worth $10 an hour, right? And if Ben's willing to accept that, the law is not going to say, no, you must pay him more. Okay? So promise to help someone studying for a test can be considered something of value. The value of the goods and services involved in a contract do not have to be the market value of those goods and services. So if Ethan Osmond is getting $50 an hour for piano lessons and I'm paying Ben $100 an hour, it's fine if the going rate is $50 an hour. If I want to pay Ben $50, or if I wanted to pay Ethan less than the $50. Okay, so it's okay with the market value. Okay, the courts are not concerned with the value of the considerations, merely enforcing the agreements. Okay, when the courts believe the consideration completely out of line, it is considered unconscionable. So let's say I paid Ben $1 for his 1-hour piano lessons. That's unconscionable, and that the court does care about. Okay, there needs to be equity in the bargaining power between 2 parties. There are 3 ways that the court can rectify an unconscionable contract. The court may refuse to enforce the contract. Throw the whole thing out, say Ben doesn't have to give me the lessons. 2, it may enforce the contract minus the unconscionable clause. They take out the clause for the dollar and raise that. It may limit the application of the unconscionable clause. Okay. And then 3 is the legality of consideration. Courts require that consideration in the contract be legal. Okay, what do we mean by that? It means I cannot exchange drugs for the piano lesson. Okay, I cannot exchange not murdering Ben for piano lessons. Party cannot agree to do something that he or she does not have the legal right to do. Okay, so again, I can't agree not to kill him. They cannot give up something that they do not legally own. I can't take Dan's bag and give it to Ben as payment. Okay, and in addition, a party cannot promise to stop doing something illegal. Right? If Ben gives me piano lessons, I'll stop taking drugs. Right? Think about that. If your parents want to get you to stop doing something that's illegal, vaping for instance, and they say they will pay you, it's not really a legal binding contract because vaping is illegal for you to begin with. Types of consideration. Money. Usually one party will offer money in exchange for another party's promise or performance. Okay? Parties are free to exchange any amount of money that they negotiate unless there are price limits to certain transactions. So if there are laws about how much you can charge, that will change things. Property and services consideration. So before money was accepted as a medium of exchange, which Dan Goldberg can explain to everybody, it was common to use property and service as consideration. Promise not to use. One party has the right to give up their right to use as valid consideration. Okay, that I won't use my land, or I will give up something that I normally have the right to do. Okay, we call that forbearance. These types of agreements are called releases. Charitable pledges are enforced as if they were contracts. If a specific project is involved with the pledge, the charity must carry out its side of the deal by completing the project. Right? So if you're giving charity to organizations to bring food or pay for lunches for hospital workers, right, and that's what the pledge is specifically for, then they must carry out that agreement. Okay? These types of pledges are considered unilateral agreements. Problems with consideration. When parties disagree about the amount of money that the debtor owes the creditor, a problem has arisen over the consideration in the contract. Okay, disputed amounts. If a party to a contract cannot agree to the actual amount owed, that amount is said to be in dispute. A dispute can be settled by court in satisfaction if the creditor expects the payment that is less than the amount than full payment. So I had a tenant not pay me the rent for 6 months. When we went to court, we negotiated on me accepting a lower amount in order to get rid of the whole situation and for me to be paid. Okay? The acceptance of less is the accord. The agreement to settle as contained in the record is a satisfaction. The dispute must be real, must occur in good faith, and must not be trivial. Okay, so I agreed to take less money, right? And then this way the record was in satisfaction. Undisputed amounts. If the parties have mutually agreed to a set amount of money in the contract, then the amount cannot be disputed. Okay, kind of just makes sense, right? All right, I'm going to pick up on a review of this because then I want to do a few other things. But we're going to stop here today. You're going to come up again with 4 types of examples on stuff that I did in here. Okay, you're going to give me your 4 and then post them. I notice a few people are missing these or they're late. Guys got to tell me if there's some type of conflict that's holding you back from doing these. But, I mean, I'm not timing this, but I don't think this slide is longer than 12 minutes. Right, so you watch it. The whole thing should take you about 20 minutes to do. Counting, uploading it into Google Classroom. All right, so I've been giving you guys extra time on that. Please, let's get it done. I know you have other classes that you're focusing on, and you might be getting overwhelmed. If that's the case, give me a shout out. Okay, but I know there are 3 people in this class who are in my AP class, and I am certainly not overwhelming them in that class. All right, so reach out, guys. Take care.